The sister-to-sister mentoring program, we actually started that off yarning around the campfire. It's around that one of those principles from the early years learning framework too, around building those reciprocal and respectful relationships with each other. And how we do use that campfire there too, so when it's their turn to talk, we pass a piece of wool around, and that goes all the way around the circle, around the campfire. And once that last person or educators finish sharing their story, what has brought them to the mentoring workshop, we tie that wool together, the string, and that formulates our connectedness as basically a family.
And the idea of that too is we remain connected no matter where we go.
Creating that and setting the scene for around that belonging. Belonging becoming is interwoven throughout the program. You know, every morning of the workshops and every afternoon when we do our reflecting, you know, we base that around that belonging becoming. Belonging is how do you make children feel that they belong in their service? You're saying good morning to them. You're asking them, how are you? Listening to them. We're wanting our children to be able to just walk in their room and feel comfortable.
And we model that with our mentorees, that same process as we work with children, that sense of belonging. When they walk in the room, it's straight away, greeting them at the door. Or even before they get to the door, when they're signing in outside, we're out there with our coffee, yarning up with them and gammon, asking them, where you from, what's your name, You're establishing that relationship straight away as soon as they get there.
So, making them feel
that sense of connectedness too, because we always ask them, where are you from, and as soon as they say, could be from Hopevale or somewhere, so-and-so from Hopevale, yeah, I know them, and that's how we connect with each other too, finding that common ground.
Being is the here and now.
And focusing on the strengths, and we've always told our mentorees, there are times when you cannot control what goes on in community, but what you can control is what you are doing with the children. So focus your attention on the children and on your strengths, because you do have skills and strengths, and you have to always be pointing it out to them and, talking to them about how deadly they are and what strengths that they have, to remind them.
Yeah, like we are always talking them up, that you are so deadly in what you do. Keep doing what you're doing, because they are doing wonderful things in their service.
And they also needed to be reminded of the fact that how important they are to our children and our families, our communities. And you constantly have to remind them, who's the real expert? You are, because you are the one who knows those children. You know their family history, you know their background, you know their culture. You are actually the expert in your community. And, making them feel good about themselves. Becoming is...
looking towards the future.
Yeah. They've travelled such a great distance already, and you can feel that confidence that they've gained, and the amount of knowledge that they have now about the 8 ways of learning, about embedding Indigenous perspectives, including Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ways of learning and teaching. That's so important, not only Western knowledges, but also embedding Indigenous ways of learning. They're in a better position to support our children's learning than non-Indigenous people are, who don't understand our children, especially when it comes to language differences as well. Our educators, they speak the language of those children in their community, so they're in a better position to support these children learning concepts that are often English concepts. We do it very differently. We've flipped it on its head and gone in there and grow leaders from the grassroots level up. So it's actually sustaining Indigenous leadership. They're the key to it all. They're actually the key. Because I think it's important to realise too, for our mob, for too long they've been told constantly they can't be anything. So to grow Indigenous leadership, and what we do is constantly remind them how deadly you are. You have skills, you have knowledge, you're the leader in this community. You're the expert in this community. You're important. We train them too to stop at the water holes and rest, and reflect on themselves, to take care of their well-being, which is something that they need to do because they're important to us.
Yes, and we always share our journey too with the mentorees, you know, where we started along the way, you know, what journey we've taken and how did we get here as Indigenous pedagogical leaders and mentors.
Yeah, and getting them to rise above those challenges. Yes, we all have those challenges, but here we are, me and Ursula, we're here to help you rise above those challenges. So walking alongside them with that journey too was really important.
And I think, you know, we just get better and better. You know, like Denise and I, after we did the reflection around the campfire this afternoon with the mentorees, we just gave each other a hug because, you know, this is another one that we've done, another mentoring program, and another successful one. It was emotional too because every single mentoring program that we've had, this is the third one, we always get emotional, you know, because of what everyone has achieved, you know, and their journey is still going, and so is ours.
And further concreting that relationship with each other to stay connected. This is not the end. They still want to learn. That's what's deadly about these programs. They're still wanting to learn more. They don't want it to end.